Huh. Well, I don't know if we're out or not, guys, but I'm pretty sure we're live. So that being said, how are you? Thank you. Thank you for being here
Hello.
for a word's worth. Uh,
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Today is really the first, was supposed to be the pilot show. If anybody else is, hopefully everybody's seeing this live, um, in which we're to have just a spitballing chat session about the effects of everything that's going on. So today our article was about being empowered. Before we begin, if you would each like to take your turns introducing yourself, we'll start with you, Craig, and then we'll have Wayne introduce himself and give a bit of a bio if that works for everyone.
Sounds great.
Awesome.
Hi, everyone. I'm Craig McEachern. I'm a cannabis advocate, musician, and parent of quite a few. Been a medicinal cannabis patient now for, well, as long as I've known I've had seizures. And basically, I advocate everyone to find the right balance of life and how cannabis can work for them. And have studied over the last decade how to make that work. So that's kind of why I'm here.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. Wayne, would you like to introduce yourself?
My name's Wayne Harris, Springfield Federated Local 853. I had an accident almost 8 years ago where I fell off a ladder. I've had 4 surgeries to date. I'm waiting for a 5th, which will hopefully be full shoulder replacement. I guess it's going on 2016. I started my cannabis journey. I got off of opiates due to chronic pain. And now I'm just trying to spread the word, make sure that everybody knows the healing properties of cannabis and what it can do for you. I mean, I'm not taking 5 bottles of pills and only ingesting 1 plant. So I think that's pretty good.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's how we all become patient advocates. Is that we ourselves have been going through whatever challenges, and that's that's the point of today's chat. Is we want to talk about increasing resilience and having people. We want to look at different perspectives of setting up new routines in our lives, in particular with this social pandemic, social distancing, the COVID-19, the virus pandemic. Not that we want to talk about that at all, but we want to talk about increasing our own resilience to that. Most of us suffer in some way, shape, or form from an autoimmune deficiency, and we all use cannabis. So I guess one of the first things I have to say is let's start with that. I know, Craig, you had a whole lot you wanted to talk about. If you want to start there, and then we can just carry on the conversation. Here's basically what I understand how this conversation thing works: is as each of us speak, we will enlarge in the screen. So we might have a bit of a half a second to a 2-second delay, in which way we have to wait to speak up. Otherwise, it might become very overwhelming. And the computer might have a heart attack. So if we want to start, I don't know, whoever would like to start first, about how you recognizing your strengths. What are, in brief, the steps that you took to find, to recognize your own strength with respect to dealing with the issues that you're dealing with and utilizing cannabis? Because it's very important that even though we're stuck in isolation, that our audience and the people out there listening know that it's important to keep moving forward. Even though we're in isolation, or we're social distancing, or we've got this global pandemic thing going on, we really do have zero control over that. What we do have control over is our own selves, and using this time as an opportunity to empower ourselves, I think, is a brilliant idea. So sharing some of the tools or techniques that you've used to find your resilience. Let's start there.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. As a cannabis patient and dealing with, that whole aspect of, a lot of the day-to-day functionality of most of our lives have changed, I would say, very drastically. And this is an unknown for the most part. I don't think, I mean, going back to, say, the bubonic plague, has there been something of this magnitude ever presented itself? That creates an incredible challenge to ensure that you're still self-motivated. You have clear, concise goals for either yourself personally or for myself. I have a large family. I have 3 children in the early teens. So they went from having their social
Yeah,
fabric just pulled away, and their modus operandi of every day, they have a routine.
absolutely.
Now,
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Our
no,
routines have
no, no,
definitely been
absolutely.
changed, and trying to find a new routine in this environment is very challenging, to say the least. Focusing on the patient advocate, Wayne, when you and I were talking the other day, you had mentioned that, even though you're at home right now, you're still moving forward with, the WSIB. Now's an opportunity to give you that time to really dedicate yourself to that. Are you finding you're incorporating time for that into your schedule?
Well, I've been waiting for this full shoulder replacement for some time. I know I didn't get a chance to tell you that I was infected, and that's the reason why I haven't got this operation as yet, because I have to remove the infection first.
So
So
compromised immune.
I've been doing this 7 days of Saturday, I call it, for a long time. Um, Although I couldn't, I couldn't, uh, I mean, right now for everybody else, nothing is open and they can't do anything. And for me, the only real change from this to what I was experiencing before is the fact that everything was open, even though I couldn't afford to go participate in all that stuff. And
Right.
um, you really have to dig deep into yourself and try to figure out what things work for you to help you motivate yourself through the day. Because I found, I mean, let's be honest, when you're a person that's ill or not well, you're not paddling as hard as you would in the canoe. And if you're with other people and you're only able to paddle 60%, and to you that's 100%, I mean, it's degrading. That's not really the right word, but it's not motivating. And you have to find these ways to keep your spirits up. And I will say this: one of the things that I do is I go in front of the mirror and I'm not in a good mood, and I'll close my eyes and I'll think of something that would make me happy. And I try to go on a little journey about that. And at the end of it, when I open my eyes, I hope I'm smiling. And then if I'm not smiling a big smile, when you see that person smile, which is just me, but it makes me smile more. It's just silly little things that you just got to try to keep yourself motivated with.
So true. And smiles are contagious. And it's really
Yes.
hard to be in a pissy mood when you're smiling.
Yes.
And if you start laughing at yourself in the mirror, I've done it. How about you, Craig? How are you holding up? Like, what's the one thing you do to empower yourself to change your
I
attitude,
take
perhaps?
Yeah, yeah. I'll catch myself. The old saying, check yourself before you wreck yourself. I like applying that because I'll find moments where I just can't seem to focus on the positive. I can't see it,
Right.
and then you dwell and you can kind of circumvent it over and over. So I'll just remove myself from whatever that situation or whatever it is, and then just immediately go to a place where I have a positive backstory. So music is a great thing.
Yeah.
I'm fortunate to be able to share that with people. Um, that part to me, just sharing the joy of that, it's not about me. It's about, you know, what can I do in my community right now in comparison to what I was doing, which was one-on-one all day.
Right.
Now I have to see the bigger picture, and I have to see how can I positively affect a larger proportion of people and just kind of help them with even a few minutes of distraction from the heaviness that's going on, and just bring a pleasant, joyful experience to any
Sure.
individual.
Yeah,
You know,
no,
I find
absolutely.
that it's tremendous.
Absolutely. Using our skills or our talents to share with others, and music's absolutely soothes the soul. You know,
Mhm.
so who's doing what with cannabis? Anybody else find that they're overusing cannabis? I found being home, I'm typically home, and I
Mhm.
use a significant amount of cannabis. Uh, I'm used to working from home, but I'm used to having my excursions outside of the house, you know, whether it for whatever personal reasons, in order to get that outdoor air, not going anywhere, staying in the house, not leaving home. I'm spending more time on the computer. I've talked to a lot more people in the last little while because people are struggling with different challenges. And I find I'm puffing a whole lot more than I used to. And I'm thinking, oh, this is not good. Uh, and to tell you what strain I'm using from day to day now is becoming a challenge, because it's just reach for the jar or into the, you know,
Oh,
into the lovely little trunk back there. Um, so how about you guys? What do you, like? I'm a puffer. I really like to wrap and roll, even though I know it's the worst way to consume cannabis. I'm just old school. I like my vaporizer, but shit, I'm old school. How about yourself, Wayne?
Um, yeah, I enjoy smoking as well. It's a little quicker relief for me. I do find myself in a lot more pain these days due to the fact that I'm not able to go to my physio and appointments like that, because where I'm currently now, it's not a good space.
I hear
Um,
you.
and
Yeah.
I can't manipulate myself. Well, that being said, I can't seem to put myself in as much pain as I can allow them to do to me to get myself moving, right?
Right.
But in saying that, I'm trying to use cannabis a little more to allow myself to go a little further in trying to get my shoulder moving myself. You know, so I'm trying to just use it more for relaxing purposes and allow myself to tell myself that I am okay, because a lot of these things I can do, but my body doesn't want me to do it, and it's my muscles and the spasms that happen that don't allow. So if I use the cannabis to relax a bit, use meditation, I can further this.
Something to consider when you're meditating. You're absolutely right. Using the meditate, I hear what you're saying. When you're in the meditative state, recognizing that your brain already has a specific pathway that it runs, it's a familiar route, and you want to change that route nowadays. You want to take Highway 27 instead of the 400 to get to a different location. You know, you're going to the same place, and that is relief from the pain. Historically, we'd used, you know, the physiotherapy. Something to consider. Do you use any wraps, cannabis infused wraps?
No, but I'm going to look into that. Yes, 100%.
Excellent. Excellent. Because I think by reducing the inflammation in there, and if you push yourself just that extra 2 steps each day, you might develop a greater strength. Now, one of the things I would really recommend, though, is talking with your physiotherapist, if you can, via video chat if possible, and saying, what specifically, how specifically should I be moving my body in this particular way? I'm using cannabis as support, so it's reducing. As we all know, we don't get high from cannabis when it's applied topically, unless it's alcohol-based tincture, but that's a different story. uh, Yeah, so definitely look up online, talk with your physiotherapist, find out what activities you can be doing. I know when I was in the hospital bed and still in the wheelchair, one of the things I would do, just because I couldn't put weight on my body, is I would use towels. And for me, it was obviously my legs, but I used it for my arms as well. And there was different exercises that my nurses and PSWs helped with. And it was a combination of, I don't know, Pilates, yoga, stretching, God knows what. It was, if I could move it, I had to move it so it wouldn't atrophy, right? Or atrophy. So, and you went through quite a bit as well, eh, Craig? I can see you down there nodding.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Hips and knees for me. And you know, like wraps, topical. It's yeah, it's a bonus. I've been using it a lot. I have um like calcium spurs in my shoulder, arthritis, killer arthritis in hips and knees. So for me, it's, I mean, and because of the epilepsy, I'm an edible all day, every day medicinal user.
Right.
And you know, as you were saying at the onset about usage and how has my usage changed, I've been very specific on strains, amounts, but my edible intake has only increased at night, just for tremors
Okay.
and residual pain, because you know that's just kind of how it's working. But I had, you know, for the last 4 years, I've been going to a gym religiously. It's great for the mind. It's great for the body. You know, not pushing too hard, but at the same time, maintaining a level of self-reliance and just getting those positive brain waves flowing, and it kind of helps guide the ship, you know, the
That's right.
body, right? Just like your analogy, you know, it's very true. We're taking a new course. So I'll stretch every day. It might be micro stretching. I'll meditate every day. It might be a microscopic amount of time, but still keeping those, you know, goals, those, you know, you still know how you should feel. So I know I've been really picky on smoking strains because I don't smoke often.
Right.
So for me, I, after looking up, you know, I've been researching strains since since forever, and but for me, it's more like a balanced sativa-esque. Like right now, I have some wonderfully grown organic Jack Herer, and it's absolutely
Right.
beautiful.
So
I
you're
can
using,
stay
so if I,
clear-headed.
nice. So if I understand correctly, what you're saying is you've done your research for yourself to determine that these strains are specific for this way and this method of consumption with those specific strains. Did you ever keep a log journal or a book to make that determination, or just when you got it right, you said this is it and you stuck with it?
It's funny because with me and the memory and in accordance with the epilepsy, there are things I just can't remember to save my life.
Fair
And
enough.
I
Yeah.
need to have I need to have some literature to back me up. Um, I've utilized a couple of great, you know, web-based um, places. I love a circle realm of care
Mm-hmm.
.org out of the States. They just publish every scientific document and journal in relation to what their triple blind tests have been, and I've just in, like gorged on this information. I, you know, and
Do
then
you
I
know
have,
his?
you know, yeah, go ahead,
Yeah,
sorry.
information is power, right? Information is power. And I think that's one of the big things that you found, eh, Wayne, is the more you learn there was to learn.
Well, yeah, exactly, right? And it's like you said about the terpenes and stuff like that, it enhances everything.
Oh yeah.
And I want to know. I am already here. This is where I'm at. I know I'm going to get fixed in the future with the replacement and stuff like that. But I have to deal with my pain. I have to live this life. And I want to do my best to try to figure all this stuff out so someone else doesn't have to figure it out. I mean, like, because all these strains are totally, totally different, and they all have all different effects on us, and a lot of it, like, we're all different people too, so the same effects might not happen for you too, right?
That's
But
right.
for me, it's perfect. Like, you know, this works perfect for me, because the biggest thing I have with the pain is it's so loud. It takes over all my thoughts, and I just can't concentrate. And you just find yourself on this
I
hamster
understand
wheel
completely
where
there.
you're pissed off because you're in pain. You can't really do anything
Mhm.
about it because you're in pain. And you know, and then I just found, and especially with the opiates, that was a horrible situation, you know.
Sure.
But the cannabis, at least I know I'm in pain, but it gives me a little bit of energy, I guess you would say, to help me deal with it.
Yep.
It's not
Mhm.
so bad.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Here's the interesting thing. What you said is very common among most chronic pain sufferers. We all, when we have that pain happening, depending on the level of the pain, there's also a sound that goes with that. And that sound is a very distracting or an emotion or something happening in our head where you cannot think clearly. To maintain a cohesive thought is next to impossible. Never mind do decision making, et cetera, et cetera. So one of the most important things I think for everyone to always keep in mind is when you're in pain, your brain is driving that train. Yes, there is physical anomalies that are happening, or physical, the nerves are spasming, the muscles are swelling, you know, there's a lot happening physically speaking, but we have the ability in our brain to control that. And it's learning how to control that. That is, I think, such a freedom piece of information. And so, you know, I really strongly urge you again, and I know you are, meditate, use self-hypnosis techniques. If you're willing to try 100 different strains of cannabis, use 100 different hypnotists or YouTube videos while you're stuck at home. Meet the people online. Find out how to get into your headspace, because the more you practice it, the better you get at it. I am looking very forward to more
Absolutely.
quality chats like this with you guys. We only have at maximum 30 minutes based on the free zone of the OBS and all these new technological gadgets that I'm learning. They're a lot of fun.
Oh, yes.
Really, really thank you guys for being on my flagship premiere show, for sharing a little bit of your story. I really want you back again. I'm going to try and work this out that we can get
I'm happy to.
anywhere from 2 to 4 of us in a conversation at a time and have about a half an hour. So on that note, I'm going to say thank you to both of you. And I'm also going to thank you guys out there for tuning in. I hope this actually worked for you. If you didn't, you're watching the recording of the live conversation, and I'll get it right. Okay, on that note, remember, I'm Green Irene at greenirene.ca. You can find me on Facebook, and we have a live group there that is growing exponentially. Thank you, thank you, thank you. In under 72 hours, we've increased our subscribership to over 1,000 in the Green Irene's THC chat group.
Perfect.
So,
Right on.
nice. All right, guys. Thanks.
Yeah, well, that's
We'll
perfect.
chat real
Very
soon. Okay.
Right on. Thanks, guys.